some process of adaptation.
Well, naturalists believe that nature in some way has a process in which it works through the genetic code in altering the organism so it best meets the needs of that environment. That is not true. Environment keeps changing, and the organism changes many different ways. If the way that the organism changed does not correspond to the environment, the organism dies out. So the only organisms that survive are those organisms that fit the characteristics of that environment. In other words, what naturalists need more so is, I don't know. I wonder how that works. And do studies on it, careful studies, before you say, well, that's a natural characteristic of the animal. We don't know that. You don't go off in inventing what you think is the reason for things. You say, I don't have the means to investigate that. We don't have the technology to invest. That's all right. But there's no way of any information getting to the brain. In other words by Stuart Chase. I give them books to read by Americans, not foreign agents.
Right.
And so they learn how police come into power, what formulates the FBI or the CIA or the KGB or any organization. All those organizations are there for is to keep things as they are and watch out for what they call subversive behavior. Subversive behavior is anything that attempts to diminish this system. So that's my definition of it. So I don't think there is such a thing as subversive behavior. I think there's behavior due to some people suffering a great deal in different economies and demand different social arrangements. But those different social arrangements are a threat to the control group. So they are picked up as agitators. Everyone's an agitator. Benjamin Franklin was an agitator. Everybody's an agitator. Edison was an agitator. But the ways of solving problems other than killing people. Now here they take a group of scientists and engineers and they work on flying machines. You give them a flying machine, they use it to bomb cities. You give them dynamite, which can be used for many different purposes, and they use it to blast people to pieces. So how can a person be scientific if they have allegiance to their country rather than to the earth and everyone on it and the intelligent use of resources? This would be a scientist to me.
Well,
I haven't met any.
I think that's a very interesting...
All the people of the earth would own all of the earth's resources and manage them. Then I felt that even in that system, humans of a particular country would be slightly inclined to manage resources a little bit in behalf of their own social group. And that's when I said we have to use scientific scales of performance, scales, instruments that do the survey and allocate the resources. Because humans were not that evolved during the transition. They would be inclined to slip back, I believe. And so I wouldn't take that chance of me or anyone else allocating resources.
So you need or lack of need for the military?
Well, once the nations of the world join together and agree to return the environment to as near a natural condition as possible, once they agree to that, once they agree to scientific scales of performance for the measurement of resources and distribution, once they agree that the direction that we talk about should be installed, cleansing the Gulf Stream, removing whatever we can from the oceans, and the filthy air in particular regions of the country, cleaning. Once that agreement is made, then the procedures will be innovated and improved. See, we start out with what exists, the existing methods for cleaning the air in the oceans, and then a lot of material is allocated to research labs. Not money, material resources are allocated to do that job, but it's not one resource. It's electrostatic filters for dust and other systems, other innovative approaches. Methods of evaporative condensation, not one method, but 50 different methods. You ask, what will people do? We haven't begun to do what has to be done. So materials not money, will be allocated to labs before they even ask for it. They'll all have instruments that show the present state of affairs, what has been added by this university, or this group and that group, and you'll be able to modify your research while you're working at it. So that the end of patents, what patents do is, I'm not showing you what I've got. You don't show me what you've got.
Right.
Show me yours and I'll show you mine.
Right.
So when it moves around to that level, you will see the progress bell move up almost vertically.
Right.
But when each corporation, each research lab, and each school is interested in getting more grants and said this came from MIT, then you're defeating what science is. That's why I said that today there are hardly any scientists. So I it out, a cerebral enema is what's needed. You have to flush out all the crap, and that takes time. And if a person's a 5-year project, get off. There are a lot of people that are halfway there. I prefer you work on them. We don't need to convince everybody.